radio.
Un corito no tan sano.
Welcome back. This is Shawn the Party Man, Bow Radio Sports Grind. The FIFA World Cup. Did you guys see this? This is probably the best FIFA World Cup of all time. Lionel Messi in Argentina finally got their first World Cup. Got his first World Cup anyways. They beat France in penalty kicks. I guess you would say 4-3, but they tied going into overtime, 3-3. Unbelievable, man. Lionel Messi, probably the best soccer player of all time. That's debatable. You know, some people want to say Pele and this and that. Lionel Messi had 2 goals plus in overtime, extra time, penalty kicks. He had another PK goal. Unbelievable. So we had the guy from France, Kylian Mbappe. 3 goals. I don't know if that's ever happened in a final or even the World Cup. I've never looked up the stat. He had 3 goals in regular time, plus a goal in the PK time. You know, and I'll get into betting earlier because, you know, this guy won his bet, as he should have. He's very smart. They get into PKs. There's a guy, the goalie for Argentina. In my opinion, he's way better in the goalie than France. Not only that, the French players kind of fucked up on that one. They just missed kicks. So we go into that one. They win 4-2. The guy had some killer saves. Good for Messi. Good for Argentina. They won. They hold up the trophy. Messi has the most sports image of all time ever. The first one was him and Ronaldo. Now that one passes him. He put it on Instagram, social media, whatever. Good for Argentina. I'll give it out to France. They play their hearts out. There was a guy named Daniel Forte who I talked about last week. He cashed out, as I would have as well. Unless you're rich like Mattress Mac, you're going to take $283,000 instead of $0 all day, every day. And thank God he did, or else he would went home with nothing. Now he can buy his family a house, a car, Lamborghini, whatever the hell he wants to buy him. They won. Good for Argentina. Good for Daniel Forte. That was the FIFA World Cup. I hope you didn't lose a lot of money because I know a lot of Americans, people around the world, bet some crazy money on this. I have a feeling y'all lost because nobody thought Morocco would go to the Final Four. Moving on from the World Cup, the NFC division rival, San Francisco 49ers taking on the Seattle Seahawks. They beat them 21-13. The 49ers have the best coach in football. I think they're the most underrated team that could literally go to the Super Bowl. I don't think they really need a quarterback. They have some guy named Purdy come in. They can have some guy named Ford come in, Dylan. It's because they're coaching. If they had Tom Brady, I'll get into Tom Brady later, they would win the Super Bowl this year. I know a lot of people think he's done. He's not done. He's just on the wrong team. He's tired of playing in Tampa. They got a shitty coach. They were number 4, a bottom-feeding team in offense this year. I'll get into that later. San Francisco is really good. Their defense is really good coach. They won 21-13 over the Seahawks. They clinched the NFC West this week. Good for them. Run CMC, we're getting to fantasy. I lost my ass this week in fantasy. Run CMC, Christian McCaffrey, 108 yards, 1 TD, 6 for 30. George Kittle, 4 catches, 93 yards, 2 TDs. If you had them on your fantasy team, you probably won. I didn't. I'm out of both. But you know what? There's always next year. It was a fun year. We'll see what happens. Good for the 49ers. I think they're a sleeper. If you're into gambling, bet on them right now. Oh, my God. This was actually the game of all time. The Vikings of Minnesota came back and beat the Indianapolis Colts 39-36 in overtime. So this is the worst loss in NFL history. The Colts were up 33-0. The Vikings come back and beat him in overtime, 39-36. You know who the quarterback of the Colts is? It's Matt Ryan. He lost 28-3 over the Patriots. He did it again. Kirk Cousins, 460 yards, 4 TDs, 2 interceptions. If you had him on your fantasy team, another good week. KJ Osborne, 10 for 157 in a TD. Nobody had him on their fantasy team. If you did, good for you. I had Justin Jefferson so put it this way. There's only a handful of receivers that have 1,600 receiving yards. Justin Jefferson has done it in his first couple of years. Unreal. 12 catches for 123 yards and a TD. I still lost my team. It is what it is. It happens. That was the game of the week. Maybe one of the best games of all time. Good for the Vikings. They're in first place. The Colts, Matty Ice, Matt Ryan, you probably want to hang it up, man. We got the Browns taking on the Ravens. The Ravens were in first place. They lost this game 13-3. Kind of a defensive struggle, 13-3. The Cleveland Browns, got Deshaun Watson back. They beat the Ravens 13-3. Ravens are in the playoff spot, but they're in second place behind the Bengals and the AFC North. Moving on from there, we had the Bills and Dolphins. This was a close game, actually. The Bills are the number 1 seed in the AFC East. The Dolphins are going to probably make the playoffs, but Josh Allen went off again. He had 304 yards passing. 13, 4 TDs, 77 rushing yards. The Eagles taking on the Bears. The best record in the NFL, the Eagles, they've lost one game, 13-1. They beat the Bears 25-20. They squeaked by. A win is a win. I'll get into this a little bit later. Jalen Hurts got hurt, so he's probably going to be out for the next couple of weeks. More than likely, they're already going to clinch the #1 seed in the NFC, so we'll see what happens with that. But Justin Fields is a beast, too. Next year, I'm drafting my fantasy league. So Justin Fields had 152 yards, 2 TDs, 95 rushing yards. I don't know how you beat that, dude. This guy is a fantasy guru. So is Jalen Hurts, though. That's why I'm not in the semifinals, because he had 315 yards passing. He also had 2 picks. He had an overall not a very good actual game fantasy-wise. He killed it, though. He had 61 rushing yards, 3 TDs. He had A.J. Brown, 9 for 181, 9 catches for 181 yards. Devontae Smith, 5 for 126. Eagles squeaked by. They're 13-1 now. Up next, 2 teams both fighting for the playoffs. The Chargers and the Titans. The Chargers are now 8-6. The Titans are 7-7. Herbert kind of messed me up in my fantasy leagues. He didn't do a whole lot. He had 313 actual yards, which is great, but he also had 2 picks, no touchdowns. That's the first time in 46 games of his career, the third time in 46 games of his fantasy or of his actual career that he didn't have a passing touchdown. It is what it is. Derrick Henry, 104 yards, 1 TD, 4 catches for 59 yards. The Chargers move on, 8-6. They're in the playoff hunt. So are the Titans. Going to be interesting. Here's a game that disappoints me, man. The coaching is terrible. Before this, they had Bruce Arians, their offense. This was last year. Top 5 offense. He gets fired, whatever, gets him out of office. They have a defensive-minded coach. If you think Tom Brady still can't play, you lost your fucking mind. They were number 4 last year. He didn't lose his shit in 1 year. He's not underthrowing guys. When guys get older, they start underthrowing. He's overthrowing guys because their team sucks. Their offensive line sucks. They have a defensive-minded coach and Coach Bowles. They lost this game. The Bengals, who are in first place in the AFC North now, they beat the Bucs, who's probably still going to win their division, even though they're under 500. The Bucs were up 17-3 at halftime. They're up 17-3 and lost 34-23. Joe Burrow had 200 yards, 4 TDs, and a pick. But here's the thing with Brady. I know y'all saying, oh, he's falling off because he's throwing picks. No, his team just sucks. He don't suck. He had 312 passing yards, 3 TDs, 2 picks. He's had 6 picks the last 3 weeks. He'll find it. I'm not saying they're going to do much in the playoffs. I just think he needs to go to the 49ers. That's what he needs to go do. He's from Cali. He's from that area. He wants his 8th ring. The 49ers are meant to win now. You know what that means? Kyle Shanahan. He don't have to throw the deep ball. He can throw screens. You got Deebo Samuel, run CMC, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle. You have a defense. That's where he needs to go, man. That's my opinion. That's what I think he wants to do. That was tough for the Bucs, good for the Bengals. We had a really, really good game. The Lions started out 1-6. Since then, they're 6-1. They have the 4th best offense in the National Football League. They were taking the Jets, who's got a top 10 defense. They beat them 20-17. They're both still looking at playoffs. They're both 7-7. The Steelers beat the Panthers 24-16. Neither one's going to make the playoffs. The Kansas City Chiefs beat the Texans 30-24 in overtime. The Kansas City Chiefs defense is not that good. I don't really know what's going on. This is 2 weeks in a row. This is National Football League. Anything can happen. The NFL stands for not for long, because if you don't do well, you don't stay in the league for very long. Beat them 30-24, moved 11-3, but they got him in overtime from the worst team in the NFL. And this, if you had fantasy, Patrick Mahomes, 336 yards, 33 rushing, 2 TDs. You had McKinnon. This saved your day. This guy, if you started him, you probably won your league. He had 52 rushing yards, a TD, 8 catches, 70 yards, a TD. Killed it. So did Kelsey, 10 for 105. McKinnon won it with the TD in overtime. That's the Chiefs. They're going to be the 1 or 2 seed in the AFC. I just don't know how good their defense is, and we'll see what's going on with that. Because the Saints beat the Falcons 21-18. Not much there, because neither one of them, I think, is going to make the playoffs unless they take over the Bucs. We'll see. But if you had Tyler Algier, he had 139 rushing yards and 1 TD. Yeah, that's good. But that game, other than that, was kind of boring. So we had the Jags playing the Cowboys. I didn't really see this coming. I didn't bet on this. The Jags actually beat the Cowboys, Jacksonville Jaguars. Beat them 40-30, 34 in overtime. Another hell of a game. Trevor Lawrence, the game of his life, 318 yards, 4 TDs. He also had a pick, I believe. Zay Jones, 6 catches, 109 yards, 3 TDs. I wish I had him on my team. I had Christian Kirk, who had a pretty decent game, but this guy definitely won you your league. He had, 34 points without a bonus. Unbelievable. CeeDee Lamb had a great game, 7 catches for 126 yards. Dak Prescott, 256. 3 touchdowns passing, but he also had 2 picks. The last one, I don't really think it was his fault, but it was because he threw it and it bounced off a guy's leg. That's what I've been telling you Cowboys fans all along. I know y'all get a lot of shit. You go when Dak goes. So he had 2 picks. He throws the game-winning interception to the Jaguars, and they win 40-34 in overtime. And that's not even the worst loss of the week. I'll get into that here in a little bit. The Cowboys are going to make the playoffs. More than likely, they'll play the NFC South winner, whoever that is. I'm assuming it's going to be the Bucs because that's what the NFL wants, and they're probably the best team out of that division. It's that time of year. Everybody's had their bye week. These are just teams that aren't going to make the playoffs, so that's why I'm not really getting into them. The Broncos beat the Arizona Cardinals 24-15. You had Latavius Murray. I set him in one league because I got a bonus, but I'm already out of it, so it doesn't really matter. He had 130 rushing yards, 1 TD. You know, both those teams, they got 2 games left. Their season's over. Here's the game I was going to talk about. So the Las Vegas Raiders, they beat the Patriots 30-24. Ramondre Stevenson had a hell of a game, 172 rushing yards, a TD. I don't know if this was fixed. I don't know if John Bone Jones, the greatest UFC fighter in the world, his brother, Chandler Jones, plays for the Las Vegas Raiders. Jacoby Myers, I don't know what he was thinking. It's 24-24. You have nothing to prove besides going to overtime. You're driving down the field. They have an outlet to him, went out in the flat. He throws the ball 30 yards back. I don't know if he saw John Jones on the sideline, and John Jones said, I'm going to break your face if you don't throw the ball back. But he throws the ball back 20 yards to Chandler Jones, his brother, big brother, defensive guy for the Raiders, and he grabs the ball. Debo's runs over Mac Jones, the quarterback, and takes it to the house for the win. Not only that, it made another guy who's already rich $300,000 more rich on a bet. Or actually, with maybe $2 million. I don't even know, something crazy. The Patriots are still in the playoff hunt, but Bill Belichick might trade Jacoby Myers after that one. That was terrible. Moving on from that wild experience, so we had 2 division guys from the NFC East. This would never happen because they made another playoff team, but all 4 of these teams yesterday would have made the playoffs if the season would have ended. The Giants, Commanders, Eagles, and Cowboys. We had the Commanders and Giants again, who last time they played, they tied. The Giants came out victorious on this one to go to 20-12 and 8-5-1. Like I said, they tied. So they're probably going to make the playoffs. It's probably going to put the Commanders out of it. There's still a couple games left. Saquon Barkley had 87 rushing yards, a TD, 5 catches for 33, killing it. That's that game. And to finish it off, you got the Rams, the Super Bowl defending champions. Maybe that's a Super Bowl hangover. They lost 24-12 the Packers. If you had A.J. Dillon in your fantasy team, I like to talk about fantasy because who doesn't? He had 36 yards, 2 TDs, and 3 catches for 35 yards. That ends your NFL Week 15 scores. Been great. Hopefully your fantasy league did great. I'm out of both of mine. Hopefully you're still in it. Until next week for the NFL. I'm going to ask myself this and report to you. What do you guys think about Jalen Hurts' injury? He had a pretty maybe severe shoulder injury. We won't know. They said he could miss the rest of the regular season, which it might not make a difference because they're more than likely. Their offensive line is so good anyways. They have one of the best receivers in A.J. Brown and then Devontae Smith. And then now they got Dallas Goedert back. Then they have Miles Sanders. So I don't really think it matters. Their team is actually pretty freaking good without him. It obviously matters when they make it to the playoffs. They need this guy because he's that good. But does Jalen Hurts' injury affect the Eagles in the playoffs? Obviously, that would be a yes if he doesn't play in the playoffs. I don't think it affects. I think they're still going to get the number 1 seed. I mean, I don't know who's going to contend with them in the NFC. So they're probably going to downplay that. But when they get to the playoffs, a shoulder sprain, or they could be playing possum. They could be saying, oh, he's hurt, want to rest him. But at the same time, you want to get these guys the reps in. I think if he's healthy, I think them or the 49ers go to the Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts could be an MVP frontrunner this year. He's definitely a great fantasy player, but he's also a real life player. He might squat, be the strongest guy on the team, and he's a freaking quarterback. The guy's a beast. Next, I'm going to get into Mike Leach's death. If you go to who Mike Leach is, he was a coach for a long time. Coached at Mississippi State. He used to coach at Washington State. I think he used to even coach at Texas Tech, maybe. He died this week, and Gardner Minshew, supposed to be the backup for the Eagles, is away today on his funeral. Rest in peace, Mike Leach. Great coach. A lot of people loved him. So gender pay. You have the Major League Baseball, which is top 4, I'd say, in the United States of America. NFL, NBA, NHL. Okay, so we got gender pay inequality. Everybody's equal and this and that now. No, it's not how it is. No offense. As Bill Burr said, nobody watches you guys. Nobody buys your merchandise. Nobody buys your tickets. That's why you don't get equal pay. That'd be like LeBron James, for instance. I'm not even a LeBron fan. It'd be like LeBron James playing the WNBA. How many points do you think he would score a game? He'd score 120 by the third quarter every game because he's that good. It's just like if you have a restaurant that's very successful, who comes in there? How much money they spend? Same thing. You're not going to make no money if nobody comes and buys your food. Nobody comes to your games. Nobody buys your merchandise. It's not going to happen. There's 200 people at your games. Sorry. USA men's soccer team sucks. The women are very good. Make people come to your games. Sell merchandise. Sell tickets. This FIFA World Cup was the number one watched more than the Super Bowl last year, believe it or not. Super Bowl is usually number one. Good for the FIFA World Cup. Everybody thinks baseball is boring. I don't think baseball is boring. It's strategic. But I will say this. There are these guys. They're from Savannah, Georgia. They're called the Savannah Bananas. And these guys make baseball so interesting. Their games are literally sold out like a year in advance. They come out and they do backflips in the outfield before they catch the ball. They'll come up to the plate with a burning bat and hit, and the umpire dances, and the catcher catches the ball behind his back and throws his second base to throw a runner out. They all do little dances in the infield. It's freaking great. And it's actually high quality baseball. These guys aren't no like average high school players. Some of these guys are, pretty much all of them are some point a pro. Once you get to, single A, you're considered an actual professional baseball player. So most of these guys are ex-MLB players. Very interesting. That's all I got this week. This is Shawn the Party Man, Bow Radio, Sports Grind. Until next time, peace.
Un corito no tan sano.
Yo, disfruta el sabor de siempre, con harina de maíz mazorca y dale, 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 dale. La vuelta al plato. Cocina arepa, también empanada. Juega con tus hijos, ríe con tus panas. Disfruta en familia, una cocinada. En tu mesa, la silla nunca tan contada. Disfruta el sabor de siempre, con harina de maíz mazorca y dale, 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 dale. La vuelta al plato. Siempre felices, siempre contento. Dale la vuelta a todo momento. Cocina algo rico, algún invento. Este es tu día, yo lo que siento.
Tu harina de maíz mazorca de siempre, ahora con nueva imagen.
Para cosechar lanzadores hay que sembrar disciplina. Para cosechar jonroneros hay que sembrar honestidad. Para cosechar grandes ligas hay que sembrar valores. Porque los grandes ligas no crecen en el monte, se cultivan. Así como el mejor arroz. Arroz La Garza. Patrocinadores de nuestros próximos grandes ligas.
Ahora vamos a hidratarnos con agua cristal en su nueva presentación de Tetra Pak. Agua cristal, menos plástico, más vida. Comparte, recuerda darnos tu like y activar la campanita para notificaciones.